lovely people, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking to you about the mirror principle, and honestly, if you understand this, if you apply this, if you integrate this, your life will literally change. Your life will never be the same, and you'll start to see yourself as actually a conscious creator of your life, not just a victim to circumstance, a victim to what's going on, and you'll actually have the tools to really know exactly how to do this. Before I begin, I do have spaces within my one-on-one coaching. It's conscious creation and manifestation package. This is integrating literally everything that I have learned within the mindset, within the science, within the energy space, within working through different bodies that you have, within clearing all of these distortions, and then being a conscious creator with your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions to actually know exactly how to move ahead, to have a direction and know how to actually get there. So if you are interested, click in the link below and you can set up a free application call. There's a short questionnaire and then we can meet and see if I will be able to help you. So yes, this principle. This is something that I have no idea why we weren't taught this in school. It's honestly so powerful and it really helps you take your power back. So this is the principle of the mirror effect and or cause and effect. So this is under the basic assumption. So we understand this when we're looking into a mirror. So imagine that you're looking into a mirror and you have a frown on your face. You know not to go over to the mirror and try to change the reflection in the mirror to have a smile, right? Like you want it to have a smile. You know not to go over to the mirror and make it smile. You know that you have to change first and then the reflection will mirror back that internal change. So it's the same thing within our lives. So what we're experiencing in the external reality, what we are programmed or trained or believe we have to do is to go out and start manipulating the outside world by forcing things, by going out and doing things, and really just getting in the way. If we can apply the same principle to the external world, because we know that the external world is nothing but a mirror reflection to what's happening internally. So it's our consciousness, it's our awareness, it's our thoughts and our feelings. The outside world is mirroring that back. So if we want to change anything in the outside world, we have to change ourselves first. Just like when we're looking into a mirror, we change our actual reflection, like we change ourselves first and then the reflection will mirror that back. It's the same thing with physical reality. If we want to change anything in the external world, we need to make the changes within ourselves first and then the external world will mirror those back. And so the difference between this is that in physical reality there's a time lag because we're in a dense 3D space. That's the space that our humanness is in right now. We have to work with this. All these non-physical things are happening in different dimensions, but we are physically in a human experience on the third dimension. And so within the third dimension, because there's density, there's sometimes a time lag. Sometimes there's not, but sometimes there is. And so it may take a little bit for the internal changes that you have made to be reflected in the outside. But if you stay conscious and if you actually know what you're doing, and if you know that you're doing this, then you will see changes in your external world mirror back those changes. Part of what we need to do is one, understand that that's what's going on. So instead of, if we don't like anything in the external world, instead of going outside and trying to figure out strategies or ways to change this, it's actually going inside and making the changes first. So what changes would those be? Those would be your thoughts. Those would be your feelings. What belief systems do you have? What assumptions do you have? Because those things are creating your reality, whether you realize them or not. I'll explain an exercise in the end of what you can do to start shifting these things or even being aware of the belief systems and assumptions that you have, because a lot of the time we just assume them and we identify with what we've been taught, what we've been programmed to believe, all of these different things that people have told us, school has told us, society has told us. We can start to look at them and say, well, is that even true? Like, is that even real? Or do I want to believe that? Because what's going on in the external world is mirroring your belief systems. It's mirroring your emotions. It's mirroring what you actually believe to be true. So if you want to change any of that, you have to change your beliefs and your assumptions first. And so you have to become aware of what those actually are so that you can start making the shifts. Once you start making the shifts, the external world will start mirroring those back. So just to illustrate this, I want to read you part of The Power of Awareness, and please don't kill me. I sometimes don't really like when people read me stuff, and I am going to do it to you. But it's so short and it's powerful. And this really exemplifies what I mean by being the state of the wish fulfilled, of making the internal changes first and then seeing those reflect back to you. So, if I will, and this is The Power of Awareness, Neville Goddard. If you haven't read it, you need to read it. It's really good. This is actually one of the books that when I was going to Thailand, I messaged my coach, okay, which book should I read? And he's like, okay, just only bring one or two and read them. Like, don't just read them and then be done with them. You have to repeat them because you forget things, and it's the repetition of the information and then you at a different state of consciousness each time reading the same information that actually starts to shift things, you know? And I feel if you ever read a book and then you go back and read it at a later time, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't catch that. It's just because you're at a different state of awareness and a different state of consciousness that you weren't even available to receive the information or be able to process it in a way that you can now. So that's why it's just really interesting to go back. Anyway, I digress. So this is chapter 14 in The Power of Awareness. So it's called The Effortless Way. I'm only going to read a little bit of it, I promise. So the principle of least action governs everything in physics, from the path of a planet to the path of a pulse of light. Least action is the minimum of energy multiplied by the minimum of time. Therefore, in moving from your present state to the state desired, you must use the minimum of energy and take the shortest possible time. Your journey, listen, from one state of consciousness to another is a psychological one. So, to make the journey, you must employ the psychological equivalent of least action, and the psychological equivalent is mere assumption. The day you fully realize the power of assumption, you discover that it works in complete conformity with this principle. It works by means of attention minus effort. Thus, with least action, through an assumption, you hurry without haste and reach your goal without effort. Because creation is finished, what you desire already exists. It is excluded from your view because you can only see the contents of your own consciousness. It is the function of an assumption to call back the excluded view and restore full vision. It is not the world, but your assumptions that change. An assumption brings the invisible into sight. It is nothing more or less than seeing with the eye of God, i.e. imagination. Okay, so this is from chapter 3 in The Power of Assumption. So man's chief delusion is his conviction that there are causes other than his own state of consciousness. All that befalls a man, all that is done by him, all that has come from him or woman, happens as a result of his state of consciousness. A man's consciousness is all that he thinks and desires and loves, all that he believes is true and consents to. That is why a change of consciousness is necessary before you can change your outer world. Rain falls as a result of a change in the temperature in the higher regions of the atmosphere. So, in a like manner, a change in circumstances happens as a result of a change in your state of consciousness. To be transformed, the whole basis of your thoughts must change. But your thoughts cannot change unless you have new ideas, for you think from your ideas. All transformation begins with an intense burning desire to be transformed. And then just another one, just to drive the point home, chapter 4, desire. So the changes which take place in your life as a result of your changed concept of yourself always appear to the unenlightened to be the result, not of a change of your consciousness, but of chance, outer cause, or coincidence. However, the only fate governing your life is the fate determined by your own concepts, your own assumptions, for an assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. This is basically just saying whatever you assume to be true is going to be true for you. So you might as well take control of this process and actually choose beliefs, ideas, assumptions that are actually empowering to you, that actually are going to give you what you want, rather than be limited by ideas that are actually like restricting who you actually are. So it's basically your choice of what you want to believe, what assumptions that you want. So it's actually taking out all of these assumptions and being aware of them first, and then shifting them to ones that are actually going to empower you, ones that are going to uplift you, ones that are going to help you move on your way. So the point being is that you can choose to have disempowering beliefs, and that's going to be true for you. Or you can choose to have empowering beliefs, and that is also going to be true for you. It's your choice. And because you have free will, you have complete control over what you actually want to believe. And so you believe is going to be reflected. So it's taking conscious control over this part of being human and then shifting these to actually have reflected back something that you love. Okay, so that's enough of my reading. You get the point. So I'm just going to give you an exercise that you can start to do to start being aware of this and then making these shifts. So choose something in your life. You can choose relationships, you can choose your career, you can choose money, you can choose your health. Just pick one to start with, and then start identifying what you believe to be true. So get a journal and then just write down, I believe this, I believe this, I believe this, and then just kind of keep writing. Set a timer for maybe 90 seconds, and then just write down everything that comes to you about what you actually inherently believe. Just start writing down what you believe to be true now, and without filtering it, without thinking like, oh, this is bad, or like, no, I shouldn't do that, that's actually not true, or whatever. It's actually just being real and raw and writing down what you actually believe to be true, and just letting this be a stream of consciousness. And then start to look at it objectively and say, if I carry this belief system, is this going to help me? Is this going to serve me? Or is this going to disempower me? From that, you can start to see where you need to make changes. And then start creating new beliefs. So what do you actually want to believe within each area of your life? What do I want to assume about this area of my life? And I want it to be true. And then it's just the point of writing this down. And so you write down a new script, you write down new assumptions, you write down new beliefs. And then just an additional step from this, you start paying attention to where resistance is. So say, for example, I had resistance towards being in a relationship. And honestly, this is so true for me. So actually, I'll just give you a little story here. So when I first did this exercise, in my column of what I actually believed when I thought of a relationship, it was horrible. It was like pain. It was betrayal. It was never working. It was all of these negative things that I actually had lodged within my consciousness. And then I started looking, okay, well, maybe this isn't why I feel fully connected in my relationship, or maybe this is why I have a little bit of a closed heart. Obviously, if I have these belief systems and I have these things lodged within my subconscious mind, these are going to be playing out and playing out and playing out. So what I did instead was to start writing down things that I wanted to believe within my relationship. And so for one of them, it was I trust easily, or I'm available to trust in my relationship. And I felt resistance towards that one. So when you're writing out your new beliefs, start paying attention to what you feel resistance towards, and then asking yourself, like, what's that too? Because then you can find another lead off belief that could be holding you back, right? It's like another subconscious belief that could be, dragging you down or holding you back for you actually fully believing that. So it's just paying attention to that, and then you'd write that as a new belief too. And or you'd start to just become aware when that starts popping up, and you'd make the conscious choice to not believe that anymore. It's always just catching that when it comes up and then choosing something different. So anyway, so you write down your new beliefs, and then it just comes down to you repeating that. So you need to retrain your brain. You need to retrain your subconscious. And so this takes discipline. So this is the thing where you just keep repeating the same thing, because your subconscious mind learns through repetition. So you repeat these affirmations, you repeat these new beliefs, you repeat these new assumptions over and over and over and over again. So write them down, stick them in different places. I have a thing that every morning I go and I write down my new beliefs that I want to believe. And then the important thing to do here is to actually feel what that would feel like. Like, what would it feel like for you to be, say, just in the best relationship? So you're not just writing them down and then thinking about what you're going to have for dinner, or just writing them down and not truly present with them, feeling actually what that would feel like. Because your subconscious mind is your emotional mind. So you need to get emotionally involved with these beliefs. And then to go another step forward is, because you're doing this repeatedly every day, I also have alarms set on my phone. So because you're doing this over and over and over and over and over again, and you're feeling what this feels like, it will start to become part of your natural state. And then you'll know that it's part of who you actually are when this state becomes normal. And so I think it's within the power of awareness, but how do you know? Like, what do you do between that time? And things will start shifting when this state that you have created becomes part of your normal. So you don't need to think about it anymore. And it's just part of your unconscious program. It's your new assumption. It's your new belief. And then, yeah, it's just part of who you are. It's part of just what you inherently believe about yourself and then about the world. And that's when it will start mirroring itself back to you. But you need to be disciplined and stay in that state over and over and over and over and over again until it actually becomes who you are. And you don't need to think about it anymore. It's just obviously that makes sense for me. Obviously this works out for me, and you don't have any doubt. It's just part of who you are. This is so common that, you know, we want to change things going on in the external, and we're just working and we're doing all of these things and we're trying to manipulate the outside, but always just remember the mirror example. You need to change yourself internally, and then the outside will reflect back to you the internal changes. It all starts with the reprogramming yourself internal, the energetic shifts that you're making before you can see things actually start shifting in the outside, and it becomes easy. You can get there through hard work and manipulating things. I'm not saying that that doesn't work. It probably will work, but it's a lot easier to do it actually the other way around and start shifting yourself first. And it happens, you know, easier and faster than you putting in all of that effort. Like, take the path of least resistance, do the internal work first, and then see it being mirrored back on the outside. Cool. Have the best day and love you all.